everybody, Young Grasshopper here. Welcome to the Cliffside Bunker in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And this is another episode of Battleboard Basics where we go through a particular scenario in this game, Axonali's 1940 Global 2nd Edition. And we look at a certain battle, we do combat rounds, we roll them out, and we talk about the different things, technicalities, and rules. I mean, obviously we're not going to go through all the rules, just the ones that really affect us getting through a particular battle. So in the past, in this series, I talked about a German turn 1 attack on C-Zone 110, also to the attack in Paris. Here we're going to look at Amur, and kind of got a little bit of consistency here, talking about battles that you might see in a game round turn 1. And here I want to talk about if the Russians on their first turn decide to go in and stack Amur like this. It's not unheard of. There's particular reasons why you might want to do this. If there's an attack, obviously the Mongolians will pop up. You'll get 6 free infantry. And by putting them all in here, you're requiring Japan to bring enough units in here to kind of maybe put them out of position. On the downside, we're going to see just how many units Japan can get into this battle. Therefore, probably wipe you out in one turn, being left with lots of units. And in that effect, in retrospect, you think, oh man, that was a bad decision doing that. But let's just show what Japan can get into this battle. Obviously, if you're playing Japan, you're not going to bring everything in. That would be overkill. But I want to, in this video, reflect just what can reach, so that a Russian player can understand what they're facing if they decide to do this. Not that it's a foolish decision to move everything in here. You know, there are some benefits to it, but we're going to find out just how much Japan can bring in. So obviously, I'm going to ad-lib this. I'm going to rely on my experience to get me through this battle and show you guys all the ins and outs. It's pretty hard to turn off the video, and you know, I don't have a script. I'm going to try and make it right through the end, and you know, hopefully I don't have to, or I mess up and have to turn off the video just when I'm halfway in it, because setting up the board is a bit of a pain. So try and bear with me if I stumble. So we're going to set up the board. I got a big board here, and you'll see why. We're going to bring out everything we can for Japan, so I need the space to show you guys properly. And I might need some time to just, you know, chip out units or get my dice in order, all kinds of different things. So we're going to set up the battle board for this. And all these Russians were in Amur. We're going to put them on the defender's side. All these infantry defend at 2 or less. And then these AA guns, we're going to find out just how much they're going to become involved. Surely they definitely will be, because we're going to try and bring everything that can reach, just as an example. Again, let's start moving in the pieces from Manchuria. And I'll try to keep... Let's leave the planes for now. I'm going to try and leave... This cannot move. AA guns cannot move during the combat movement phase and come in. These here obviously can come in one space. We're going to leave the planes for now. I'm going to get just the land units in for now. So, and you know, obviously, let's just pair this right now, combined arms. Obviously, we're not going to need all this stuff. Again, it's just an example to see just how much Japan could come in with, how much they could reach with. Let's bring in some transports. So this transport is going to pick up 2 infantry and, sorry, 1 infantry and a tank. Now, we got to keep these separate. If they're coming in from a transport in a battle in which land units are coming in from an adjacent ground attack, we must keep them separate. And simply because, for any reason whatsoever, if there's a retreat, we have to know which units can retreat and which units cannot, based on the fact that they came in via amphibious assault. So let's chip this out. 2, 3, 4. So 1 red chip equals 4 gray with an infantry on top. This is going to be a long video. You can imagine the Battleboard Basic episodes where we talk about a massive naval battle with many ships and aircraft and whatnot. But no, we're just going to get through it, and it is what it is. We're right now looking at transports. So this one here can come in 1 and 2. That's another transport. We're going to bring this artillery, which attacks at 2, and instead of bringing something from the mainland, because we're in this sea zone, we're going to go ahead and pick up the Okinawa one. That's more efficient, simply because we'll do that, and we'll bring this one over here. Now we got to keep them separate, right? So okay, so these came in on transport, so let's just move this one over. No, that's already combined. Sure. Okay, so just try not to mess up here. So we got 2 transports. The other one cannot reach. 1, 2. There's no naval base here. No transports. So these are the only 2 transports we can bring in. Now we are bringing in 4 units being landed, so we are allowed up to 4 bombardments. Let's see if we can get it. So there's 1 bombardment with the battleship, another bombardment with the cruiser. This battleship 1, 2 can be a bombardment, and I believe that's all that can reach. So again, we're bringing in everything that can reach, everything, even if it's not needed. So all these aircraft from the aircraft carriers can reach, and they are going to reach 1, 2. So they are 2 in, and we're going to represent the aircraft with this. So all of these are 2 into the battle. So we don't need an aircraft carrier, because if they're 2 here, they can land here. I mean we don't need to bring in an aircraft carrier into this position at all, I don't think, because anything that can reach here legally is going to be able to land here legally, right? So let's see, can these reach 1, 2, 3? No. 1, 2, 3, no. Can this reach 1 into the sea zone from the island? 2, 3, 4? No. However, from the island, 1 into the sea zone, 2, 3, yes, and then 4. So this can make it. So this is 3 into the battle. 3 spaces into the battle. These are all 1 space into the battle. So this is how I sort of, everybody's got their own way of telling, but when you've got this many aircraft, if it's only 1 or 2, I mean, you can remember how many movements they have left, right? So 1 into the battle have 3 spaces left. 2 into the battle have 2 spaces left. 3 movement spaces points into the battle have 1 movement point left. Can these reach? So let's count it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. No. But if we use the sea zone instead of the land territories to get there, it's 1, 2, 3, then yes. So some good tutorial on flying aircraft. So 1, 2, 3, 4 can't make it that way, but don't give up. 1, 2, 3, then 4. So these can get there. And they are 3 into there. Let's put them right there. They are 3 into that territory. This one here, 1, 2, 3, 4 can't reach. So 1 from the island into the sea zone. 2, 3, 4 can't reach. That's its maximum range. Of course, the bombers 1, 2, 3. They're 3 in. They actually have 4 left because they're coming from an air base. So that's one way or one reason why you should maybe do it the opposite. Instead of, you know, how many are they into the territory, maybe how many do they have left after the territory, because it's going to be different for these. But I've already started doing it one way. Didn't realize about the base, but so let's just divide these from the base. So the bomber, 1, 2, 3. Let's do it this way. So I'll take some minis that are just going to so the white mini dice are the movement points in which they have left, or sorry, they're into the battle with. The purple will be how many they have left. So the bombers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, they have 4 left because they're from the air base. So I'm using a purple dice there for that. And then the 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these have 2 left to move. So the white dice represent how many movement points they're into the battle with, and then the purple dice represent how many movement points they have left afterwards. So you can do it either way. Now, I think that's all that I can get in. We're doing maximum possibility here. Okay, so we counted that out. Okay, so from the starting unit, from the starting setup, this is what we have here. This here from the transport, this here from the transport. Now, we're going to do this line for land units. They're coming in ground. This line for land units that came in at the transport. This tank goes to at 3. See here in this column, at 3 or less. This is still attacking at 1. Now, this is here paired with this. This came in from the transport. That's why it's in the back line. And it is got combined arms. The attack is boosted from 1 to 2 when paired or combined with an artillery. Same here. The mechanized infantry, which normally attacks at 1 or less, now comes 2 or less here, combined with the artillery it's paired with, right? Reason why I make sure my mechs are paired before my infantry instead of doing this is because when the battles go on and on and on, maybe not so much this battle, but when the battle rounds go on and on and on, you may end up taking this mechanized infantry off as a casualty because it's only rolling at 1, and you'll leave the infantry here because it's combined with this. You want to make sure that you decide which one you're going to want to keep in battle, just so you don't accidentally take that off and leave the infantry instead. So we're going to have some AA shots here. Now you remember the last Battleboard Basics video where the AA gun had a shot at the German aircraft. Well, the rules state that an AA gun each will get 3 shots at 1, depending on the amount of aircraft coming in. Now, if the maximum capability, because there's 2 here, you're going to get 3 for this one, 3 for this one, so 6 shots at 3 or less. But that's only if there's 6 aircraft coming in, and of course we have many more than 6. So we definitely, now if, even though the maximum allowed here is 6, so 3 at 1, 3 at 1 for 2, if there was only 1 anti-aircraft gun there, it'd be only 3 dice. Doesn't matter how many aircraft, but because we got 2, it's going to be 6 total dice. Now if there was only 5 aircraft coming in, you know, even though that these can roll up to 6 dice, they would only get the 5 because there's only 5 planes. But because there's 6 and well over 6, they're going to be allowed to roll the maximum amount of AA shots that They can. Now, this is quite overwhelming, right? To take out this many units, right? We got 10, 11, 12. You know, we got so many land units. There's 18 here, right? But you decide if you're ever in this situation where you are going to attack Russia in this position. You decide how many of this. Now, I've brought in the total amount that can reach, and now you decide how many can you do without if you have plans for some of these fighters in other areas attacking China territories, for example, right? But we're going to roll it out. Maximum should be a turn one sweep, should be, but we'll see. All right, so we are set up to do this battle. We're going to go into the first combat round, but before the first combat round, we need to shoot our AA guns at the attacking aircraft, all right? Now, again, we've separated these to make sure, these 4 units, to make sure that we understand that those are the units that come in from the boat. This shouldn't go 2 rounds, but if it does go 2 rounds, I'll make an example about retreating. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to fire 6 shots at the aircraft. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we need a 1. Each one we roll will kill a plane. And we get 1. So we hit a plane, and now the attacker will decide which aircraft it's going to remove. Obviously, we're not going to remove an expensive bomber. We're going to decide between fighters and tactical bombers. But before we do, we've divided them into how many spaces they have left to go, but we have not divided them between how many at-3 versus how many at-4s. Now, I'm not going to move it. I mean, it's more important to just make sure we don't mess up how they move afterwards, after the battle. But let's count out the amount of fighters we have. That's important. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 9 fighters. 9 fighters, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tactical bombers. Now, our tactical bombers are at 4 because of combined arms. A tactical bomber does not attack at 3. It gets boosted to at 4 if it's paired with a fighter or a tank. So because we have 9 fighters and 7 tactical bombers, all 7 of our tactical bombers are going to roll at 4. All right, so we can afford to take off a fighter. Now remember, one of these can be boosted by this. So even if we lose enough fighters to go down where one of these tactical bombers have to be pushed down, remember that the tank also acts as the combined arms that boosts a tactical bomber to at 4. So now we're going to strategically remove an aircraft. So we've decided already that we're going to remove a fighter because our tactical bombers are stronger on attack. Plus, they're just a buck more. So if you were going to replace an aircraft because of one that you lost here, a $10 fighter to replace a fighter lost rather than $11 to replace a tactical bomber, tactical lost, right? And trust me, these are way more valuable than most Axis and Allies players think. You know, it's the tactical bombers when attacking capitals and bringing down Calcutta, bringing down London. You know, it's the tactical bombers that drive the attacker over the finish line because of the at-4 that they get when, of course, strategically paired with tanks or fighters. So I rarely remove these unless I definitely need the at-4 on a carrier for defense. But anyway, that's another video. So we're going to strategically remove a fighter here. Now, I've sectioned them off into, you know, how much range they have left. So these guys have the lowest range. They must land 1 away, which is fine. Landing here is fine, right? But, you know, if we're going to remove a fighter, why don't we remove the fighter that has the least amount of movement points left in the non-combat movement phase, all right? So now these AA guns, of course, do not shoot anymore. They are done, but they can be used as casualties, okay? So let's now roll into the first combat round. You might think that was the first combat round. No, that was a special situation, special roll before, okay? Some ice falling down the chimney. That's what that was, if you could hear it. So we've got AA guns that are going to be removed. They fought, and now we're going to go into the first combat round. That was not the first combat round. This is, okay? So now the attacker is going to roll, all right? We're going to find out just how many times we can hit, and if this is overkill like we think. Now, obviously, anybody could bring out a battle calculator and run this simulator on a battle calculator like 5, 10, 100 times, and it'll tell you that you're 99.9% chance of winning, obviously, right? So, but, you know, the gut feeling, the dice, the gut, you know, I mean, obviously we're going to win. It's more about how much we're going to lose. So, attacker goes first. We got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 11 at 1, that's what this column is, at 1. Bear with me here, guys. Could be a long one. I mean, this is very helpful for new players, right? Because, you know, there might be something here for them that... trying to fit it all in one hand. I know how to count. I'm just trying to fit it all in one hand. So 11 at 1. So good roll. There's 3 hits. 1 fell out of the tray. Now, as a rule around here in the cliffside bunker, if it falls out of the tray, obviously we're not going to go under the table and see what the table reads. Under the dice under the table, we're not going to see what it says on the floor. We're going to just re-roll, okay? And that's a miss. So we got 3 hits. 1, 2, 3 with here. And then we've got 4 at 2. Now, before I do that, I just want to throw my bombardments out first. Now, this can happen sometimes when you just forget. You forget to roll your bombardments because they're not on the board. Sometimes, you know, I mean, the rules suggest or dictate that you do put them on the board because they are a hit, a roll that needs to be hit. But, you know, sometimes you don't have enough space. So I'm just going to go ahead. I'm glad I remembered. So 1 at 3 for the cruiser, 1 at 4 for this battleship, 1 at 4 for this battleship. 1 at 3, miss. And 2 at 4, 2 hits for the bombardments. That's 2 more hits. Now, we need to hit 18, but actually we need to hit 20. So the bombardments are done. They're stuck there. That's their position from now on. They only roll once, so that's why we roll them before the first combat round. So they only get to roll once, the same way that AA guns can only roll once. And no, you cannot use ships as casualties, all right, just because they came in for a bombardment and we're doing a land battle. And, you know, if it's important to you that you must take the territory with 1 infantry, you can't remove a ship that's adjacent that participated in the bombardment. Okay, it doesn't work like that. So we've got 4 units here at 2. So 4 at 2 attacker. That's a lot of 6s, 4s, and 5s. So nothing there. We're going to go into our aircraft, and we want to roll next our at 3s. I'm going from the bottom up. So at 3, 1, 2, we're counting fighters and the tank, okay? 1, 2, we already know that all the tactical bombers are matched, and they're going to be rolling at 4 with these 2 bombers. So at 3, fighters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So remember, it was 9, but we lost 1 to the AA gun, so it's 8. Now this tank is 9, so it will be 9 at 3. 9 at 3. All right. 9 at 3 attacker. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 hits with the fighters. Moving on to at 4 now. I meant the fighters and the tanks. So at 4 now with the tactical bombers and the strategic bombers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So another 9. This is at 4. Good roll. Only 2 misses there. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 17. So we have 20. We're going to leave 3. And that's our 17. So it was not a clean sweep. So even with everything that we brought in, it is not a clean sweep. All right. Fascinating. So these 3 are remaining. We have to remove the casualties, but we're still going to be able to roll for these, of course. This is just, we have to declare what our casualties are going to be. Obviously, when we're dealing with multiple different units on defense, it is going to matter if you're going to use a carrier as a casualty, or if you're going to use a submarine or destroyer as a casualty. All these things are going to matter in bigger battles with more defending units. But for now, this is what is going to be removed from the board. I'm going to roll 6 dice 3 times. So this is my defense. We can reset this. This is my defense. I'm going to roll 6 dice 3 times. Here's the first roll. And I got 1 only. We're doing at 2, and then I roll another dice, and that misses. So 1 only. And now I'm going to go into my second roll. A little bit better. I mean, I got 2 hits that time. And my last roll at 6. So the first roll I got 1, second roll I got 2, last roll I got 3. So 6 units is what I hit, 6. So the attacker is going to take off 6 infantry. All right. Now we did not remove this, and I'll explain why here. So we're peeling off the casualties. So it will be a second round. We have 3 defending units left. Now we'll do this afterwards, but let's just go ahead and do it right now. Okay, well, I didn't really prepare, but that's okay. I'm going to keep the camera rolling. Keeping the camera rolling. Getting a few things. So because of the attack in Amur, the Mongolian rule has been triggered. All right, and if you're not quite familiar with the Mongolian rule, I have a video up explaining it. So with the Mongolian rule triggered, I mean, you would do this after, the battle. It is immediate, so it's fine if we do it now. Okay. So the territories in Mongolia automatically become Russian controlled, and the infantry, the standing army in Mongolia automatically become Russian. So this is going to matter in regards to the Japanese. Now, whether or not the Japanese retreat is not really going to matter. This will definitely pop up. All right. But we have to understand that when it comes back to Russia's turn, these 2 units can attack here, here, and here. This unit, of course, cannot. It'll just deploy into here. Although, actually, it can attack into here with anything left over, right? So here's the argument for retreating. So if Japan were to retreat right now because of the 3 units left here, going into the second battle round, second combat round, if they were to retreat now, then all that land unit would not be stuck here. Now, there might be a strategy where you're fine with all these land units being here, okay? And it's not too much. I mean, they did lose 6 units. But let's just hypothetically do a retreat. We're going to do a retreat. Now, we cannot retreat the units that are on here, all right? Okay, so we're going to retreat, and we can retreat into any territory in which there were units coming in from. So we can retreat here to Korea if we like. We can retreat here to Manchuria if we like. Now, we had units from Korea come in. We had units from Manchuria come in. So retreating into either or is fine. However, you cannot retreat and split. You can't put 2 here and 2 here. You decide first the retreat point, and then everything must go there. All right, you can't split it up in between. That's not allowed. So retreating, we're going to retreat only the units, the land units, that were that came in from the ground. Okay, the land units that came in from the ground attack. Now, there's a lot of strategy here. I mean, let's just put this in here now, because this is what's remaining. And you might think, oh, that's fine, we got a lot of aircraft. No, the aircraft must retreat too. Okay, so it's this against this. These 4 against these 3. Well, why can't my aircraft stay in? Well, if you retreat everything, including the aircraft. It's the units that came in on the ships that are not allowed to retreat. Now, if you wanted to, say, retreat, and the attacker could have strategized this when he was removing units, if the idea was to retreat and just allow those 3 units to stay there, the 3 Russians, and not continue a second round, then of course, as part of the 6 units that you would have removed all of this as part of the 6 units and two of the stack, and then all the land units could retreat, and then the 3 Russian infantry would be stuck here. Now, these 3 plus all of this can still wreak havoc, but considering that you lost some units. Now, obviously, losing a tank and artillery as part of that 6 unit casualty would be tough to accept, right? But here, let's just stay in and see if we can fight these 3 units alone with what we've got here. And it'll be more of a closer battle, absolutely, right? But these aircraft, when you retreat, cannot stay. And obviously, these cannot fire again. So we've got a more interesting battle here with 4 units against 3, and the reason why we're doing this is so that we don't stick all this land unit stuff in here. It's not stuck here with nothing here. That could be a strategy for you moving forward, whether you're fine with it all being here or not, right? If you're fine with it all being here, then just wipe out these with all your aircraft and all your land units, and it's fine. But by diversifying, by coming into a hairy battle for round 2, combat round 2, you get to bring these back. Nice defense against anything here. Good starting point to be able to attack into these territories and whatnot. Now, by being here, remember that your next turn, you can attack into this territory and then come into here the next turn after that. So, I mean, it's shorter distance if you think about it by going 1 and 2. Or it's the same distance, 1, 2 here, and from here, 1, 2 there. So it's the same difference, okay? But let's say you got a strategy that calls that these stay here. So let's rule that out just to make for a little bit more of a fun second round. So turn 2, the attacker has combined arms with these two units, and the tank stands alone. And the reason why we brought in the tank, and it's a good idea to bring in the tank and keep the tank there, is because if we do wipe this out with Amur, right, then this tank is a great unit to be positioned there to blitz around and take up all this money, right? Come in here, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, and get all that money, just a single tank, right? Just chewing it all up. So that's a good unit to be there. It will be the last unit we take off if we must, right? So the attacker in turn 2 combat round, 1 at 1, 2 dice at 2, and 1 at 3, and we're trying to hit 3 units. So 1 at 1, hit. Oh, gutsy. 2 at 2, 1 hit there. We need 1 more hit, and here's the tank for 1 at 3, and we missed. So the tank missed. So obviously we're going to bring 2 units off. There's 1 infantry left, and the Russians will get an opportunity now to defend with 3 infantry, 3 at 2 or less, and they hit twice. Interesting. They hit twice. So we are going to take off the infantry, of course. All right. And now our third combat round number 3, we've got 1 at 2 and 1 at 3 against 1 at 2. So let's attack. Attacker goes first in the third combat round. 1 at 2, miss. 1 at 3, miss. So the Russian infantry misses. Combat round number 4. We just keep doing this until somebody hits or somebody wins. Combat round number 4. Got 1 at 2, miss. 1 at 3, hit. So the tank hit. This is the last roll for the defending infantry in combat round number 4 before they lose that territory. And they hit. Fitting. Very drama. So 1 removed there, 1 removed there. Japanese tank remains and wins the day. So very interesting the way that played out, so that, you know, now obviously if everything stayed with the aircraft and everything, we wouldn't need to go into 4 combat rounds. It definitely would have ended after round 2. But we got our tank here, and we have good positioning here. And unfortunately though, we could see a situation where 3 infantry come in and hit this tank that way. But we land all of our planes. These are dead. We're not going to get into it. This is not a tutorial on non-combat movements, a tutorial on battle simulation. But all of these are 1 space into the territory. They can move 3 away. These are 2 spaces into the territory. They can move 2 more spaces away. These planes here must land here. They only had 1 space left to land. They must land there. And of course, these are 4 points left to move, and these are 2 points left to move away. And that is the Battle of Amur. That is Amur versus the whole Japanese Armada, Air Force, everything. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of perspective on, you know, what to think about when you do make a move like that. Move all 18 plus the 2 AA guns into Amur to defend like that. It does put these ships out of position for sure, right? These transports are out of position. You can see that they don't have anything left to pick up here. Now, if all of this stayed and did not retreat, then yes, they could pick up, come 1-2 and land and get more into the fight on against China. But even though you consider this wiped out and you're supposed to have free reign, remember the Mongolia rule pop-up. These are 6 more infantry now for Russia, and they can attack into here and attack into here. They can help China that way. So that might be a bonus for you to put those there. And you know, a lot of the cases, even though Russia puts all 20 units there, I mean, it's not necessarily a given that Japan would do something like this and attack it. They might just leave it there, build up Manchuria, and call their bluff, because, you know, 18 infantry attacking at 1 or less is a whole lot weaker than, you know, what we saw here, them taking 6 units in one combat round by defending at 2 or less. Right? All right, guys, so that's Battleboard Basics and another episode. So I think that these are useful for new players to help them understand the technicalities of being in a combat and the different combat rounds and what happens. We're going to get into many situations in this series where, you know, the strategy of removing casualties is very, very pronounced, and, you know, there's a lot of decision making when it takes, and it's like, I know that you're thinking, wow, a 45-minute video talking about one battle, this is a long game, but, you know, of course, experienced players get through this stuff pretty fast, right? I'm obviously explaining every decision. All right, cheers, guys. Thanks a lot. Hope you enjoyed that. Take a look out for the next Battleboard Basics, where we talk about a possible first round strategy. And as the series goes on, we're going to get into deeper issues, you know, not just what we might see in the first game round of this game, Max Nally's 1940 Global 2nd Edition. Thanks, guys. Cheers. May all your rolls be ones, and take care, be safe, and we'll see you in the next video.